Hello everyone, Steve Witt here, joined by Kevin Harper, and we're here to preview the latest All Sports Betting Pod Cricket World Cup. The match on Friday is between Pakistan and Sri Lanka at Bristol, but unfortunately the weather forecast is so bad that neither of us are optimistic that a ball is going to get bowled.
No, that's right, Steve. I mean, you look at the radar, there's a weather front going right the way through the south of the UK up north on Friday. It's been forecast for a while, hasn't it? The game that that's going on whilst we're recording this podcast, Australia and West Indies, earlier in the week was due to have showers as well, wasn't it? Thankfully, that one's going to be unaffected, but this one certainly isn't. And unfortunately, it's going to happen right through the early mornings. So, play's going to be delayed. And I'd be very surprised if Bristol dries out quickly enough for a significant amount of play. There needs to be 20 overs per side for a match. So, realistically, they're going to have to start that by sort of 4 o'clock, somewhere in that line. Well, I think heavy rain's forecast till about 2, isn't it? So there's not going to be a window there. And it's not like that. It's not like that there could be a first innings where we could have a go at a top bat in the hope that it's that team that are playing. There's not even going to be that, I don't think. So, no, unfortunately, this is one of the 45 group games that we're not going to be able to get stuck into.
Yeah, no bets for this game. It's rain forecast from Bristol from 3 a.m. on Friday morning all the way through to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And even then, it'll be sunshine and showers. So I'll be surprised if this one gets anything done. But it's a shame for both teams because both really need a victory in this sort of game, and it's one they'll be targeting, wouldn't it? Pakistan especially. They came back really well against England. And you were impressed with them there, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I thought they played some really good cricket. I wasn't particularly impressed with England. I'm sure we'll come on to that in a minute. But, yeah, I mean, when you've been bowled out for 100 and so many, and then a few days later you've got to go back to the scene of the crime and perform again to make best part of 350 in the confident manner that they made them as well. Bode well. I don't think they were brilliant with the ball, but they kept on taking wickets when they needed to. And the interesting thing was they held their nerve at the death. Sometimes Pakistan sides, they can go a bit cockeyed, can't they, under pressure? But they held their nerve when Josh Buttler was going at them. And that bodes well for them in the tournament, although, like you quite rightly saying, no result here is going to do a fair bit of damage to their chances.
Yeah, the next two matches are against Australia and India, so I think it's pretty much the tournament. Any chance they do have of qualifying is going to be, they're going to have to win them 2 games, aren't they?
Certainly going to have to win one of them, that is for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's only New Zealand and the winners of the Australia-West Indies game that are unbeaten so far. So, if they can get themselves in amongst the mix of the other sides, and India, I should say, but they've only played 1 game. If they can get themselves in amongst the mix of that, then you never know. I mean, that Australia game probably be big because, if they do win that, they've got 5 points from 4 games, which, when you've been skittled for 100 in your first one, it's probably not the worst thing in the world. They can build from there. And they've still got a couple of winnable games to follow, haven't they? South Africa, Afghanistan. So you never know that. But yeah, that Australia game in particular feels big. I mean, the India game's always going to be big for Pakistan, isn't it?
Yeah, and as far as Sri Lanka goes, they were given an almighty scare by Afghanistan. Maybe lucky to prevail in the end, you could say. What do you take from them going forward? Their next 2 games, they've got Bangladesh on next Tuesday, and then they've got Australia as well. I mean, to me, they do look like one of the whipping boys, to be honest with you. They just haven't got enough depth all round.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I've thought all through the tournament that they're the worst side in it. I probably would still say that. Unfortunately, they just about got enough runs in them first 10, 15 overs against Afghanistan to make that run chase a bit tricky. And then, sadly for Afghanistan, the rain juiced that pitch up, and they weren't expecting that, were they? And they lost. But I mean, credit to Sri Lanka in a way. I mean, they'd been rolled over for 130 in their first game. They'd made a complete kibosh of their batting in their second game. Everyone's throwing the kitchen sink at them from a critic's point of view, not least us. We've been quite vociferous about it. Lesser sides would have just jacked it in and said, okay, this ain't going to be our time. We're in alien conditions. we can't be bothered. But to be fair to them, all 5 of their seam bowlers gave that a real good go. And, you know, even when Afghanistan got themselves back into the match with that partnership between Naeeb and Zadran, they didn't panic. They were well captained by Karunaratne, and Malinga came on and done the job that he's in the side to do. So from that point of view, they deserve a little bit of credit. They still need a massive improvement to be competitive in this tournament, and I don't think they've got it in them. But you've got to admire their fight at the very least. As I say, lesser sides than them have gone down before.
If this match had gone, in 50 overs, not rain affected, who would you fancy to win? Pakistan?
Yeah, you would do. I mean, they're mercurial, aren't they? But their experience in English conditions this summer, I think, is giving them an edge. We've seen that with 1 or 2 other sides in this tournament, and I know they were taken aback by the West Indies, but Australia made that look not necessarily the worst effort. Australia were clever enough to come out the other side, weren't they? But I'll give Pakistan the benefit of the doubt still. They're the better side to Sri Lanka. I mean, they'll finish above Sri Lanka in the table, that is for sure. So you've got to back them to win a game, albeit if the game is shortened, if there is a game and there is time for a 20-over game, as much as we don't think there will be, that will certainly level the playing field. Sri Lanka would be much more competitive when their bowlers only have to bowl 4 overs each, as opposed to when they have to bowl 10 overs each.
Okay, well, we've not got an awful lot to talk about with this game, so let's just talk about a review of the tournament so far. And it's been very interesting viewing, it must be said. Let's start with one of the disappointing teams, and that's South Africa. Do you see a way back for them now or not?
No, I don't know. Didn't see a way into the tournament for them in the first place, Steve. Certainly don't see a way out now. Don't really get why AB de Villiers came out this morning and said he offered to come out of retirement and it got turned down. I just don't see who that's helped. I mean, it made AB de Villiers look like a twat. It's made South Africa look stupid. I just don't see who wins that one, who wins that argument. So, not sure.
So, but this AB de Villiers story was really interesting. Do you think they should have accepted his request to come out of retirement?
Well, it's a 2-pronged thing, isn't it? Did South Africa need him in this tournament? Yes, absolutely. I've said all the way through every podcast we've done that's involved them, they don't have enough batting. Their batting's been terrible since he retired. But he did retire. He did leave them in the lurch. And if he did want to play for them and then carry on playing for them, don't just come out of retirement because there's a World Cup and the eyes of the world are going to be on the tournament. You're special, but you're not bigger than your country. So, yeah, I think they were right to turn him down, if I'm honest, Steve. I don't think one World Cup is worth all of that. What's he going to do next winter down in Australia when the World T20 comes out? Is he going to quit for another 15 months and then that comes along and, I'll play in that as well? I don't think he can do that. South Africa have got to prepare for the future. The future's without him. Yeah. Okay, this World Cup's come at the wrong time in terms of their development, but so be it. It's one tournament in a bunch of tournaments these days.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you can't be going back on your word that many times, can you? It's a bit daft. So I know you've got off air. We've been talking about England, and you've had a bit of a rant about them. To me personally, you've suddenly got a few concerns about whether this team can win the World Cup, haven't you? What's your gripe with England?
I've always had these concerns, haven't I? I mentioned them in the preview podcast that we did. They're just too shackled under pressure for my liking. England, they go into too much of a shell, and they can only win this World Cup if they play with freedom with the bat. Yes, people can throw at me that they've made 2 scores of 300 in this tournament, but it isn't necessarily the amount of runs they've made. It's the way they've done it. And they've not got bowling attacks under pressure yet. It's only really that innings that Jos Buttler played against Pakistan that have got them under pressure. I mean, let's not forget, England did make 300 against South Africa, but on the very same pitch, 3 days later, Bangladesh made 25 more. So that kind of highlights it. I mean, on an even playing field, England are going to outscore Bangladesh every day of the week, twice on Sunday. And I was really let down with their batting performance against Pakistan, not just because it cost us a winning bet, but also because they never played a shot for 20, 25 overs, a shot in anger. It was only when Josh Butler came in and what were we, 100 for 4, 90 for 4, something like that. And really and truly at that point, the game was kind of gone. He was batting with a little bit of freedom, which is exactly what he wanted. And I just think they've got to be more proactive. Hafiz and Malik, wasn't it? 2 part-time spinners who were always going to be the 5th bowler for Pakistan in that match because they played the extra batsman. They bowled 10 overs, 2 for 53, and England fell 14 short. I'm sorry, but those two have to go around the park. You just got to box clever. And whether we've lost wickets or not, if the part-timer comes on, he's got to go. But England never looked to get after them, and I thought they were shackled. And if they remain shackled in this tournament, I don't see them winning it.
And how would you assess the tournament so far from a betting point of view? There were quite a few surprises early on with perhaps some of the low-scoring games. Has it been a case of having to adapt to the situations?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the West Indies-Pakistan game killed us, didn't it? We went into that one full of confidence, full of optimism, and, that game just didn't play out how it was meant to. But by and large, we're doing okay. I think we're running on the course of successive days of profit, decent profit. And we're starting to get to grips with it. The tournament as a whole, I think everyone's realising now it's a new ball tournament, aren't they? If you look at even Bangladesh, they knew on Wednesday just weather the storm, get through it. It gets easier afterwards. It was the same with Australia this morning. They were 4 down, but Steve Smith didn't panic. He knew it was going to get easier. India the same against South Africa on Wednesday. See how that Rabada spell. It gets an awful lot easier. And I think gradually we're going to see a lot more of that, Steve. I think there'll be a lot more cautiousness from the batsmen in the first 10 overs. And, and they'll look to cash in later on in the innings. I think as we go along in the tournament, we're going to see a lot of top scores coming from Messrs 5, 6, 7, and 8 as individuals. I still think the overall top scorer will obviously come from the batsmen higher up because they'll be facing more balls. But we've seen Nathan Coulter top score today. We saw Chris Morris top score or go very close to top scoring yesterday, and 1 or 2 others along the way have done likewise as well. Santner looked good down the order yesterday as well, didn't he? So I think that's going to be a theme of the tournament going forward. So we should be able to coin in a few top bats. But what a great tournament it's been. Everyone said, oh, it's just going to be batting. And yeah, that's true. It probably will still be batting. But credit to the groundsmen around the country so far. They've left pace and bounce in the wickets, and the new ball bowlers are having some right old fun, aren't they?
Yeah, they certainly are. And I mean, apart from the New Zealand-Sri Lanka game, I can't think of an opening partnership that's really gone wow, blitzed an opposition particularly. So, certainly in a big game anyway. It has been a good tournament so far for just looking at the scores here in this West Indies game, 58 for 2. Australia were 50 for 4. 58, 60 for 2 has been a popular sort of scoreline, hasn't it, in every match, really?
Yeah, and that's kind of what you want, isn't it? Because it sets it all up nicely, doesn't it? Bowlers are in the game, batsmen know there's runs there. It's just, and some of the contests within the contests as well, Steve. That's what I love about 50 over cricket. I said it to you earlier off there. You don't get these contests in T20 cricket. We've just seen that spell Mitchell Starc against Chris Gale. They don't face each other in Big Bash League or IPL very often, and if they do, Starc will only bowl 2 overs and then it's been and gone. You can have a real proper spell at him. That Wahab Riaz spell at Josh Butler the other day, Lockie Ferguson at the Bangladesh pair yesterday. You don't get those kind of contests in 20 over cricket. It's been fantastic to watch because of the pace and the bounce in the wickets.
All right, well, we look forward to plenty more games, and we'll be back to preview the Saturday matches in the next day or so. So watch out for those picks. Hopefully the weather will play ball a bit better. I think Saturday, thankfully, the 2 venues that are coaching the games on Saturday should encounter better weather. I think if it was in the north, then you'd be absolutely shagged, to be honest, on Saturday.
No change there, then?
Well, you wouldn't believe the amount of Saturdays that have been rain affected up here this year for cricket. I seriously, I've not been playing much, but every Saturday's had rain at some point. It's incredible. It's been a poor year up north anyway. South, I think, has had it a bit better, but Although then again, I heard that parts of East Yorkshire were having droughts a week or two ago. So it really depends whereabouts you are in the country. But hopefully we'll get a good bunch of. Hopefully, won't see many washouts in the tournament. That's all we can hope for, really, isn't it? So we look forward to previewing the rest of the tournament. Thanks for listening to us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we will catch you around very soon. So take care.
Cheerio, Steve.